Going on, people? Welcome to United View. Good evening. Flex's view. My view on the Jadon Sancho situation, with a little bit more news on top of that from earlier on, that Jadon Sancho was obviously not going to be training with the first team squad. I know Owen covered that. I was just planning on basically giving my view to that because I thought that was quite a damning revelation to see that had happened. And before I even got the chance to record a reaction to that and give you lot my thoughts and share my thoughts on top of Owen's live earlier on that you guys were all part of. Now we get this from Laurie Whitwell. And it goes as follows. Jadon Sancho was asked to apologise to Erik ten Hag, but refused. He is using academy facilities to train and won't be considered for selection until back with the first team. It is even messier than we first thought. It really is. You guys know my stance. And this is why I was saying before, when everyone was saying, oh, let him, if he just says sorry, then he can come back in the team and stuff like that. I knew that. I've always said there was no chance he should be playing against Brighton. But I thought it would be under the pretenses of hopefully he comes in, does say sorry, does do the right things, and puts it right with Ten Hag, apologises to the squad, agrees what the sanction would be, and it's a 1-match ban or a 2-match ban or whatever it's going to be. But we know what it is, and there's the statement. But as we saw, that me and Owen were talking about this morning, when you start seeing Richard Arnold and John Murtough being involved in this, that's worrying. That's worrying. And this is confirmed, or Laurie Whitwell seems to have confirmed, because you can never say these things are 100%. Sancho still said in his statement that there's something else. Now, we may never know what that something else is, because right now it's the club that are telling The Athletic, the club that are telling Laurie Whitwell that Jadon Sancho has refused to apologise. Now, if he's refusing to apologise, it means he's doubling down on his point. It means he's saying that the manager's lied. He's saying that the manager's wrong. He's saying that our manager, Erik ten Hag, is scapegoating him. He said it in his statement. And the reason why we can say that is because of just that. He said it in his statement. I'm being used as a scapegoat. And there's things I can't go into right now, but there's other reasons. So Sancho is sticking to his guns here. Now, him even taking down that tweet, unpinning it and taking it down, you're thinking, well, that's a step in the right direction. But clearly it's not. Clearly it hasn't been. And clearly we are heading into absolute disaster with this situation. And I can't see how Erik ten Hag can fix this with Jadon Sancho. I can't see how Jadon Sancho can fix this with Erik ten Hag. This looks done to me. Until January, I think we'll see him leave in January. That's my honest feeling at the time of recording this. And I want to talk about how I feel about the situation. I had doubts over the long-term situation anyway, even if Sancho did say sorry and get back into the team. But clearly, this is untenable now, training with the reserves. And you know what? It just shows you, in the morning show, I likened it, didn't I, to the Pierre Aubameyang situation at Arsenal. And if any of you guys have watched that documentary, it gave a really good insight as to how they managed to get him out of the club when Mikel Arteta just decided, no, not for me. Now, it wasn't as volatile as this. I don't think Pierre Aubameyang ever came out and done what Sancho has done, accused the manager of lying, etc., etc. But in terms of how it works, the people above Arteta were the ones who had to step in and marshal that problem, and then it got to the end of the window and it was like they needed a scenario. And I think we could be in a very similar situation, actually, in January with Jadon Sancho, because he's not going to be playing for us anytime soon after this. Absolutely no chance. You're talking weeks and weeks and weeks, months, and he already had the problem of last week. Erik ten Hag said you didn't train properly. So it was never just about Sancho coming in and saying sorry and being ready to go again. He would have to prove Erik ten Hag's conclusion wrong from last week, that he is ready to play, that he is ready to train to 100%. And that hasn't happened. And now he's been banished from the squad. It's even worse. I literally thought he was going to say sorry or agree what the fine would be, how much wages would be fined, etc., etc. Because like I said, I want there to be a way back for Sancho. And on top of that, I don't know the other side, but I can't defend this. You lot know my thoughts on this. Like, there's no player FC. I said it before, and I say it again. We've wanted standards at the club, and if you go and do that, whether you believe you're right or wrong in what Jadon Sancho did, publicly doing that, it's only going to end one way. It's only going to end one way. Whether it's players who are massively involved in the team and have achieved big things at the club in the past, like what we saw with Sir Alex Ferguson and people like Roy Keane and people like David Beckham and anybody across the manager, people like Jaap Stam, people like Ruud van Nistelrooy. We've seen it happen. But there's always only ever one winner. And I'm not trying to say that Eric Ten Hag is, as good as Alex Ferguson or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that in order to steady this ship, this carnage, this circus that is Man United, you need someone at the helm who's going to call the shots and say, that is wrong. You ain't doing that. Now, I look back to last year, October times when Sancho got sent away. We were all praising Ten Hag. We were all behind Sancho to come out of a tough time that we didn't know what happened. We didn't know much about. And we wanted him to come back. And it looked like Eric Ten Hag had put an arm around him, was being very patient, set him up with the basics that he needed to get back, a kind of tick box exercise stage by stage. And Sancho comes back to, I remember his first game back, loads of applause. He's smiling. Eric Ten Hag, I think we came on as a sub, whatever his first game back was. I can't remember exactly which one it was. But I do remember it at Old Trafford and people were clapping. Everyone was happy. And even though he was in the matchday squad, I remember the warm up that day. And it's like, from that to this, something's up. Something's up. And I'm sorry. I don't blame Eric Ten Hag. I know there's some people saying, oh, how do we know Ten Hag's not lying? And, but I don't think he is, personally. I don't think the manager was asked a question about why Jadon Sancho wasn't in the team. And he said it's because he believes he wasn't training properly. The manager picks the team. It's the manager's decision. If us fans don't like it, if Jadon Sancho don't like it, or players don't like it, tough. And let's be honest, he wasn't pulling up trees when he was playing, was he? Now, it's weird because we were asking him to get some more game time. But this is what I find funny. Well, it's not funny at all. None of it's funny. This is what I find weird is that the comparison about the Anthony thing and why did he play over Jadon Sancho, etc. He's been poor. But here we go, guys. This is to do with availability. This isn't even to do with what you're doing on the pitch. You need to get there first. Being a professional footballer ain't just about turning up and thinking you can just go through the gears, go through the motions. You've got to have it here and you've got to have it here. Yes, of course, you need bags of ability to be able to make it in that top 1% who make it to the Premier League. It's incredibly difficult. But as we've seen with many players, talent alone isn't enough. Talent alone isn't enough. Application is what's needed. And there are probably more pros. Well, not probably. Think about how many professional footballers that there are. Let's just say in the Premier League. Yeah. Hundreds and hundreds of players, right? In the Premier League, if like squads 1 to 24 or whatever, right? There's far more players who aren't top tier and super talented that just apply themselves and can do the basics correctly to a fairly high level than there are Kevin De Bruyne's, than there are Erling Haaland's, as there are Marcus Rashford's or Bruno's or bloody Odegaard's or Saka's or whoever. Do you know what I mean? Mo Salah's and that, and Luis Diaz and all of them, all of the top players that you can think of. There's way more players that are average and not considered as a top draw player than there are that are players at the top. And that it shows you why. That shows you that it's not about talent all the time. It's mainly about application and it's mainly about your mindset. It's mainly about your attitude. And this seems like that's what's lacking in this situation from Jadon. That's how I read into the situation anyway. There is still something that he's saying we don't know yet. And that's why I'm like, I wonder what it could be. But it did us no good with him saying that, did it? It did us no good with Jadon coming out and saying there's something else that I'm not going to go into right now. However, if you look at it from the player side, to give the player side though, he is sticking to his guns. He's sticking to his guns. But you at least have to say sorry for doing that post. Surely, if you've got something to sort out in-house and you think Ten Hag's lying, etc., surely you have to agree. Surely you would have to apologize that going that way about it to sort the situation is wrong. Doing it in public and making a massive statement like that to undermine the manager in front of 2.3 million followers and the rest of the world that's going to see it who don't even follow you. So it's way more than that. You know, surely you've got to. That's the start. You would think, why even take it down then? Sancho may as well just put that tweet back up right now. Right now. He may as well just go back and put it up there and pin it, then go to his Instagram, put it on his story, and put it on his grid. That's what he may as well do. That's what it feels like. Because by refusing to apologize, it means you're standing by the statement. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And I think that's it for Sancho. I really, really do. I don't know how he gets back from this. I think this will be his last season at Man United. And I think it will be like the Aubameyang situation, like I said. When it gets to January, they're going to have to find a solution because there's no way from September, 3 months. Yeah, what was it? All of October, all of November, all of December, and a bit part of and another half of September. 3.5 months. There's no way, not a chance, that in 3.5 months, Jadon Sancho is going to go from this to sorting it out. Everyone's back on the same page again, then back in the team, then play well. Then get to January and we go, oh, yeah, no, we need to keep him. He's really good. That's never going to happen. All I can see here is that there's an exit strategy there and it's over. That's how I see it. And, there's no fence sitting for me on this. I stand with Erik ten Hag on this. I think Jadon Sancho's a wicked kid. Anytime we see him, always comes up, always smiling, comes and shows love. Do you know what I mean? And I really want it to work for Jadon. I know there's a talented player in there. I'm as do you know what I mean, frustrated as anyone. I really want it to work for Sancho, but there's only so much you can defend somebody. Wrong is wrong. Wrong is wrong, man. You can't be saying that about the manager. You can't. Even if, and I know this is going to sound crazy, right? But even if he's lying, or in Jadon Sancho's, opinion, he thinks he's lying. He's saying he's lying. There's something else. Doing that in public's not the right way. I know people can say you got a right to defend yourself and all of that, but the manager didn't go in on Jadon Sancho. The manager didn't talk no conspiracy. The manager just kept it football. If we're going to be, and that's his right to, by the way. That's his right to. And I stand by my sort of guess, which is that if Jadon Sancho would have seen that Erik ten Hag said anything other than what Jadon Sancho believes is the truth, I think he still comes out with a statement, guys. I think that's shown us. I think how we've seen how long that this has gone on for, I think that shows us that that's the case, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, if Erik ten Hag, when he was asked the question after Arsenal, why Sancho wasn't in the squad, if he would have said he's got illness, I think Jadon Sancho would have went to social media the same way and said, I'm not ill. I was available. The manager's lying. I've been made a scapegoat, blah, blah, blah. I think he would have done the same thing. If Erik ten Hag said he was injured or he's picked up a knock, I still think Sancho would have gone onto his notes, typed out the same type of message, and just would have changed the whole training thing to, I'm not injured. I'm 100% ready to play. There's something else going on, but blah, blah, blah. He would have done the same thing. Just take out the bit about training and insert lie about, in Sancho's mind, lie about being ill or lie about being injured. If Ten Hag would have said it's tactical, I believe Sancho would have done the same thing. It's not tactical. It's an agenda against me. I'm a scapegoat. Sancho holds this view for a reason. So if Ten Hag would have said anything other than what Ten Hag actually is the reason why, which clearly is the reason why he didn't select him, because he selected him in the previous 3 games, and all of a sudden within a week he hadn't selected him. So how long has this problem been going on then? Because in pre-season he used him quite a lot, and we were all saying actually it's quite sharp, false 9, largely down to the fact that Højlund wasn't there, Martial wasn't there. So I don't really look into that. I didn't ever come out of pre-season thinking that was going to be a long-term solution. I just think he played him there because Sancho's good enough to play there. And it got us through tour, really. And you want Marcus Rashford to be getting game time from the left, etc., etc. And the same with Anthony. I think that was just a circumstantial thing where there was no Martial and Højlund wasn't there yet. So that was never going to be a long-term fix. But he was in all 3 of the matchday squads against Forest, Wolves, and Spurs, and came on in a couple. I think he came on in all of them, actually, I want to say. And then he gets to Arsenal after a week off from Forest, and he's not in the squad. So however bad this situation is, yeah, It wasn't bad enough for Ten Hag, because Ten Hag's no mug. Ten Hag wouldn't have played him in them 3 games as a sub if he was way off it in them training sessions. So that means that this happened from, when did we play Forest? We played them on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, didn't we? A couple of weeks ago, whenever it was now, about a month ago, whatever. In that time between the Sunday after the next day after the Forest game, all the way through to probably the Friday evening or the Friday when they trained for the last day, or actually on Saturday probably trained. So from that Sunday to that Saturday, something's gone on, because Sancho weren't on no scapegoat thing and saying all these mad stories. It's only since he got dropped from the squad for not training properly. So it's in that 7 days or that 6 days. That's where this has taken place. Because before that, he was in the match day squads. He was there. He was there all pre-season. And I know, like, just because someone smiles and comes over and says hello doesn't mean everything's rosy behind the scenes. But we didn't hear any murmurs of discontent, because these things get out. People get a little bit of a feel for it. There was no Athletic or the Daily Mail or flipping Fabrizio Romano or bloody Ornstein or whoever it may be, especially the people close to it, Samuel Luckhurst. There was nothing to suggest that Sancho had a rift with Ten Hag at that point on tour. Do you know what I mean? And certainly at the start of the season, like I said, for the first 3 games, there was nothing. So something's dramatically changed in that week. And that's why I don't blame Ten Hag. Because when people say he could have answered it differently, because I was actually in that. In my first initial reaction, I was pissed off we lost to Arsenal and I had to deal with that straight away. We all were. But in my initial situation, when I thought about it, I was like, it's a bit 6-1, half the dozen the other, because maybe Ten Hag didn't have to say that he wasn't training properly. Maybe he should have just said he was ill, or just say it was tactical. Look what what's his face? Arteta done with Gabriel when he kept leaving him out, playing Partey right back first few games. He was like, it's tactical. But the difference there is that Gabriel accepted that because he's on form. He's on song. He's buying into what Arteta's doing. And you can see that he has to play against Man United, and he's at it. His head's in the right place. He came on a couple of sub appearances to see the game out when they went down to 10 men against Palace. I think he came on then, and he's buying in. That's what a harmonious squad looks like. That's what a squad where the player respects the manager. That's what it looks like. If the manager says it's tactical, it's tactical. I just don't fancy you right now for these games. Be ready when I call upon you. That's what you're supposed to do. When you need me, boss, I'm there, and I'm gonna put everything in. You know, especially when you've been given help like Jaden has. So that's why I stick with Ten Hag, because people can say, why? How do you know Ten Hag ain't lying? And when I break it down like that, I don't tell me what you guys think, but that's my reason for siding with Ten Hag over this. That's my main reason. And the second reason is that, like I said, I'm back in the manager. I'm not doing this player FC bullshit anymore. I remember before Eric Ten Hag even got to pre-season, when we knew he was coming, we done countless shows. What did we say, guys? We said, whoever comes in, well, not whoever, we knew it was going to be Ten Hag. He has to have standards. We have to back the manager. We need to have someone strong who can stand up to people. And in the first couple of months, he said, Ronaldo, move. You're not doing that shit on my watch. You ain't playing against Chelsea. You want to walk off? You let him off the first time, because I know what I saw that first time against Rayo Vallecano at home in that friendly when Ronaldo went off. But Ten Hag, again, tried the friendly approach and kind of said that everybody shouldn't have left. And it was a bit of a mixture. But I know what I saw that day. That was my feeling on it. I thought Ronaldo just went. But Ten Hag said that weren't the case. It was everyone. Do that again, see what happens. He did it again against Spurs. See you later, mate. You ain't playing, 1 game ban. Whatever fine they did. And then obviously done the Piers Morgan thing, and that was it. Done. Do you know what I mean? Marcus Rashford, you're 40 seconds late for the meeting. Hold bench, bro. Standards. So I don't look at that side of it. I mean, because I know some people are doing the thing of like, oh, this ain't looking good for Ten Hag, man. He's falling out with players and this, that, and the other. I don't think it's that. Who's he falling out with? Let's be honest. Who's he falling out with? Ronaldo, we saw what happened, but let's just be honest. Ronaldo just weren't going to be it. And Ronaldo decided that his ego couldn't take that big of a hit. And Ronaldo pulled rank, or tried to pull rank, and done Ronaldo things. Manufactured his exit and wanted out. Is what it is. De Gea didn't fall out with him. He fucking backed him the whole year. Look what he said to me in press conferences. Backed him the whole year. Just decided on footballing reasons that he's not good enough. Ruthless. That's what we wanted. Harry Maguire hasn't fallen out with him at all. Just took the captaincy off him and don't play him no more because he's not good enough. Footballing reasons. Marcus Rashford definitely has not fallen out of him. Just had a 30-goal season, his best ever return. And Marcus Rashford did what you should do, is just hold your hand up and say, I effed up. Now, it was easy for Rashi to do that day because he came off the bench and scored a winner and he was all smiles, but he owned up to it and you move on. Aaron Wan-Bissaka didn't kick a ball. As soon as Eric Ten Hag come in, what did he do? Get his head down, work harder. After the World Cup, when Dalot got injured, he goes, here's my chance. I've been waiting for this. I've been working. Because if Jadon Sancho was in the right mindset right now, he would have a massive chance because Anthony's not there and we don't know when he's going to come back, if he's ever going to come back. So don't give me that like, oh, Ten Hag's falling out with the players crap, because that's bullshit. If I'm being honest with you, I don't buy that at all. That's rubbish. He's not. What Ten Hag's doing is actually setting standards. And I think anyone who thinks that he's not, I think is just looking to just do the player FC thing. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand it. I don't understand how you could go at Ten Hag in this. So, look, it's not good. According to Laurie Whitwell, like I said, he's refused to apologise. And the fact that he's training with the kids or using the youth facilities or whatever it is, right, that's very damning. That's very, very damning. Even the Ronaldo situation, they wanted it to go away quickly just to get through to maybe January so that he could go. And it all went, you know, it all went pear-shaped when the World Cup thing happened anyway, because during the first few days of the World Cup, the interview came out of Piers Morgan when he said he's going to do tell-all interview and all this crap. So he manufactured that. Because he's Ronaldo and he's got the stature to do it, he got out. And it feels like that's along the same lines of happening here. He doesn't want to be here anymore. The relationship's severed between him and Ten Hag, and it can't be repaired, which is really sad. I want to end by saying that. I am really pissed off with this because Jadon Sancho is a player that most of us, really, really wanted. Such a bright talent. And he's got talent. And if he leaves Man United, you know what I mean? It's in there. He's got to find it, but it's in there. He's a fantastic player. I was so excited when we got him. And I've always hoped he can turn it around. Always hoped he can get a run of games. But he's not going to be able to do it like this. You know, I don't want him to fall into another, you know, player that came to Man United and it swallowed him up and they were supposed to come here and do this and they never did. And I don't want, and more importantly for him as a Jadon Sancho fan, like I don't want his career to go down the pan. He showed that by walking away from Pep Guardiola at Man City at the age of 17 and going to Dortmund, he proved that he backed himself. He proved he's got something about him, you know? And I know people develop at different times and mature at different times, and he's still a young kid. You still got to know right from wrong. And I just hope that Sancho learns from this. Whether he learns well enough from this that he can come back into our squad and turn it around, which I would love. I don't think that's going to happen. Or whether he learns from this, and if it isn't going to be at Man United, wherever his next move is, he can become the player that we know is in there. Because this isn't good. This isn't good for Jadon Sancho. I don't know what's going on in his head. I don't know what's going on in his private life with his family or his mental health. And so I don't want to go in too hard on that. But I can only talk about the things that we're seeing in public. And from what we're seeing in public, I can't see how there's any way back. I really can't. And it's sad. It really, really is sad. I didn't want to be proved right that there was no chance he could play against Brighton. But this is even worse. Talk about can't play against Brighton. This is bloody worse. This is flipping. Is he going to play for us again? Well, one thing we have kind of been talking about this whole time is there a way back? And a lot of us have said, of course there is. Of course there's a way back. As long as the steps are followed correctly, you come in, you talk man to man, you have it out, you apologise for calling out in public, maybe whatever it is with Ten Hag that you, you know, go through with and say, you know, I don't agree with that you said this, or whatever it is you need to have out, you have it out. Yeah. That is what should have happened. And then you take the game ban and a fine or whatever, and then you move on. But I didn't expect it to be as an abrupt end as this. I really, really didn't. So that's my opinion. Let me know how you guys feel. It's a really, really sad one because it just goes from bad to worse at Man United. We've got a big game against Brighton. We're trying to get some positivity and it just won't come. It's so frustrating. Anyway, guys, take care. And I'll see you again very, very soon. Peace.